Okay.
All right, here we go. I am with one of my favorite people on earth, Brad Federer. He was one of my coaches when I was a wrestler coming through high school, and it's amazing the impact that he had on me. And it wasn't until years and years and years and years later that I realized he gave me time, he gave me money. I mean, he fed me. He took me all over the state of the Midwest to wrestling tournaments, and I never realized until later in life that none of that was his job. He was just doing it. And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about Coach has been teaching for 40 years. We're going to talk about how can we move the kids, all of them, the kids in the nation, from where we're at now. We're going to be shut down till the end of the year. If anybody thinks anything different, you're crazy. How do we do it, Coach? How do you get your kids through this year?
Okay. Am I on?
You're on, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first of all, I mentioned to you before that we're not a monolithic unit. Teachers throughout the country, districts, some have lots of material. Some have been working on e-learning for a long time. Some teachers have never done e-learning. Elementary school teachers are much more equipped because the little kids are much better at doing e-learning. They all have tons of video games, educational stuff that they can do. I teach high school. That's the only thing I know about. And high school students are sort of like a deer in the woods. It's hard to get them to come out. You have to sort of work on it for them to feel comfortable enough so that you can start talking to them. I teach Spanish, but I do a lot other things. I meet these kids every day. We laugh, we talk, we share a lot of things, and that's the part of being a teacher that we have to find a way to get at least some of that to our students. Because even though high school students don't usually act like they miss you, they do.
All right, Coach. Let me ask you a couple questions real quick. And my son's 16 years old. He's a junior in high school. The biggest fear that I have is that somehow we try to and listen, this this pandemic is happening as we speak. It could be a whole different set ball game next week. But let's just take a positive thing that we're going to get through it. That these measures that they're making, we're going to get through it, and we're going to come out of it okay. My concern as a parent is we do not finish this school year and it drags on through the summer and just starts again. To me, that makes no sense. My I want to know why my son can't get the bare minimum that he needs from now till the end of the year. Hey, let's move on. Let's
Right.
let let's move on. He has his whole life
Right.
to catch up.
Right.
So are you understanding what I'm saying?
No,
I,
and this is an issue that my all of my principal, all of us, we've already had two conferences online. This is what you're hearing from lots of educators. Not, I can't speak for all of them, but what we're talking about is bare minimum outcomes. Okay. So as a Spanish teacher, I can't teach them a ton of new things, but I can give them opportunities so they can continue because you know how you forget most of what you learn as you learn it. Let's go back and work on those skills so that when September comes, they'll have a better ability to remember what they've learned rather than trying to force feed them some material when they're emotionally perhaps not ready to do that. That's
well,
that's
I like the fact that in this case you're a Spanish teacher, so a lot of people are going to be like, "Hey, I'm not going to be I don't need to speak Spanish anyway. This is no big deal." This, that, and the other. That could that could be history. That could be math. That could be
right.
all of those things. The
Yeah.
advanced students are going to be easy. You're going to give them a task list. They're going to go.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. Yes and no. That's not that's no given. I'm not teaching students that are going to Harvard next year, okay? I'm teaching students that have the same feelings that they had to take Spanish for college. So that's always there. Okay.
But collectively, I'm saying collectively, as
Right.
as we're the way I tell you, Coach, this for me in my life, this is unprecedented. But
Right.
I'm in a strong headspace. I'm very strong right now, so I can just deal with whatever's going on. I don't have to question it. I don't have to fight it. I don't have to
Right.
do any of those things. I see too much fighting. The game has started. You know the direction it is going.
Mhm.
You don't need to know the statistics or this, that, and
Right.
other. You need to follow. You need to follow the coach. You need to
Right.
follow the coach. This is, and I think the better we do that, the faster things can move on. The first time ever in our lifetimes,
Mhm.
we're all one big team. Whether you want to be on the team or not, you're on the team, and it's not just this country; it's the entire world. Collectively, to get our kids the bare minimum. What do you do? How in every you've been teaching, you're one of the smartest guys I know. In every class, how would you do it? Just how?
Okay. Well, first of all, a teacher has to access what online types of tools they have, but you got to contact almost every parent directly to find out what's available. What do they have access to and what they don't? Because we're making some assumptions. Even if they have no internet and just a phone, there's lots of things we can do with that. Lots of things. Okay. One thing. Go ahead. You're going to say something?
No, no, no. I'm just
Okay,
thinking.
so
So,
even with a phone, I can teach. Okay, I used to teach at a Catholic school. All I had was chalk and a blackboard. That's all you need is chalk and a blackboard. So with a phone, schools have to be open for like meals and stuff. You can leave packets there. You can give directions on the phone. I mean, I'm getting paid all day. I got all day to teach. They're paying me so I can call people, I can counsel, and the more you get out to talk to parents, the less uncomfortable they're going to feel talking to the teacher. But you can talk them through packets. You can do that. But if you have online resources, they're used to it. And, these kids, they go to school because they know it's the right thing to do. They go to school because, for the most part, they have fun. Now, the fun part's gone, the interaction with their classmates and so forth, but they've made a commitment, okay? Otherwise, they would have dropped out of school. So they are committed to do it, but you have to lower the stress level by not giving them things that are going to make them question how to do it. You want stuff that reinforces what they already know. Does that make a sense? They know there's
100%,
something.
100%. How important is it to get every single teacher within your curriculum on the exact same page, so the English teacher isn't having them do an 8 and the history teacher isn't having them do, what I'm saying is a scale of 1 to 10.
Right.
We just all figure out what a 5 is, and
Right.
we accept a 5 is good enough. Now, I've been reading some things out here in Oregon that legally they're not allowed to finish the school year online. I mean, does that even make sense?
No, in Illinois, we're not allowed to give grades yet. We're not allowed to get grades till they tell us. So I'm putting materials out there so that they can continue to, in foreign language, you got to hear it, you got to see it, and so forth. But we don't really start officially. I'm giving them some extra credit. But what you just mentioned, no, we are scheduled to go through. We're having early. We're starting. We finish May 14th. Now, we won't be doing tests in the building, but there'll be some kind of, I think a lot of teachers are going to go with project-oriented things. Okay, project-oriented things, and those projects will finish up the first week or two of May, and we will assess a grade. There's no reason why I can't assess a grade. They've been doing online learning for years at the university level, so there's no
Okay.
reason this.
Who is at biggest risk? Who's at biggest risk here? A eighth grader who is going to be a freshman in high school next year, or that kid that is just struggling to stay in school, to hold on? if it was me, coach, you know this, and you know for a fact, if this was going on in 1984, you would have already come to my house and told me what I was going to do, because you would have said, you would have had this mapped out. You would have said, you will do this or you will never go to college. Because I know I would have been like, no school, yeah, no school, but for who's at biggest risk to just their home life is horrible to begin with, dysfunction within their family, who's at biggest risk here?
Well, I would say that people who have a supportive family, you don't know who that is. You can't tell that by looking at them. Doesn't mean that they have to be wealthy, or a lot of poor parents have good relationship with their kids. Okay, so that is a big thing regardless of what level it's at. But I would say students who have had good experiences in school, they're fairly successful, they have a pretty good relationship with teachers, those students are going to, I think, be able to transition better than a kid who just finds school to be sort of emotionally stressful. But on the other hand, though, we have to have expectations. We can't just say, hell, we'll just give up and figure it out in September. I don't think anybody wants that. And if you do that, it sends a message that the kids aren't used to me saying, it's okay, I don't really give a crap whether you speak Spanish or not, or, you no, they don't expect me to do that. They expect me to establish some guidelines, but they have to take into account the environment and everything. And I'm hoping all teachers are going to do that. I'm hoping they are.
Now, I was just reading this before I came on. It looks like they're gonna cancel the standardized testing.
Yeah.
Coach, is that the test that everybody takes and they don't grade them? I mean, we're not graded on them. We could write B B B B B B B all the way through, and it would just show that section was a dum dum.
No, they've come a long ways. They've come a long ways because students know that it represents lots of money for them personally and the districts. So, and now they have lots. It's not so much taking the test. The kids aren't going to be able to do all the prep that the teachers that are involved in that work. They're working on these tests, getting them ready for these tests. So they will miss some of that. They're still going to be doing online test prepping. Kids want to do well on these tests. So no, you don't have a lot of people putting D down as much as maybe you would think. But it tells us where to go. It tells the school district where to go. We're coming back. We got next year. We have to know where to place students. The state has to know how well we're doing. Now, are they going to have to take all that into consideration? Are they going to cut our money because we have a 30% drop in students not meeting outcomes? I mean, I teach an elective. They don't really care too much about foreign language, but in math and science and reading, those are things that are going to have to be looked at. Everybody's going to drop, but some districts with higher special education, districts at-risk students, they're not special ed, but they have some real issues with school and learning. Those kids will tend to drop more than other kids.
I hadn't even thought about that, about the special needs program and the end of and everything there. I actually have a history within that. Lad was in an IEP up until 5th grade. Dropout rates. This seems to be, Coach. This seems to be the stock market. This has the equivalent. The stock market crashed because of this. There's no way for it not to. It seems, if we're being honest, this should do the same thing. How can we avoid the seniors this close from graduating? They're the C student, they're the D student. They just want to get that diploma. What do you do?
I don't know. What's it going to take for a school district to fail a senior who's borderline, Joe? I really don't think we're going to get into a situation where they're going to go out of their way to fail that kind of student. But it's stressful. I have a grandson who's 18. He graduates from BBCHS in a couple months. He won't get to walk or anything. But he's doing his work and everything. He's always been a pretty good student. But it's like kid, high school age kids get emotional, you know, and yeah, and you know that. And so this thing will go from being the greatest thing that happened one day to like, oh, what the hell am I going to do? Oh, next year I'm not going to remember anything. And, they're going to be doing that kind of thing. And they got people to tell them, hey, we can get through this. We can get through this. That's what I think teachers, more than what they teach them, they have to have a voice outside their house telling them it's going to be okay. I'll take care of you. I think that's important.
What about the kids this is a perfect example. What are those pre-SATs, the LSATs, the
SATs,
the SATs, the test that I need to go to college.
Right. That's interesting because they have started to lower their expectations on the test. They're using other factors now. That test is important, but it's not like it was before. Like Bradley Bourbonnais High School, they have no class rank. I'm probably there's schools in your community. They've eliminated the class rank as a factor to measure what kind of school you get into. Because what's number one in a class of 100 students compared to number one in a class of 800? And you don't know the curriculum. We don't have standardized curriculum. So they're starting to be more fair in terms of how do you measure kids. And so I have no idea what they're going to do, Joe. I really don't. But I do know that the test isn't like it used to be. There's other factors, participation, online evaluations, interviews. There's lots of other ways.
Coach, you've been teaching for 40 years. And for 40 years, you've been fighting against cuts. Doesn't matter where you go, right? Is that a fair statement?
Right.
Doesn't the education community, it's cuts. Who gets what? Do we have an opportunity here? I believe in many areas, we have an opportunity to do a complete reset and say, moving forward, this is how we are going to operate, whether it's a business or a school. Don't we have an opportunity here to, and I would love this. I think our kids spend too much time at school. Do we have an opportunity here to bring the school to the home? Everybody has a phone. I mean, and if they can't get a phone, we as a city and a state can get a kid a phone that he can go online. These kids know how to use their phones. We didn't even have computers when I was coming up. Isn't it a perfect opportunity for a complete reset?
Yeah, I think that this is forcing teachers like me I have some skills. I'm not like a younger teacher that grew up with this stuff. But we're going to, I think, start heading towards more of a hybrid. Hybrid's a big term now in everything. A hybrid system where we try to take the best aspects of a physical building, teachers with students, and the best aspects of online instruction and start blending them a little bit more. Because I'm sure after this experience, we go back in the fall, it's not going to be what it was last fall. I will have learned from this experience. But like you said, there's no reason why we can't make sure that that's part of the school. Like in my district, all the kids have laptops, okay? But some kids, they live in the country, they don't have good reception, especially for video reception. So we're trying to do things. I'm working with them right now to see if the kids could go into the parking lot. They have Wi-Fi in the parking lot. Let them download some of the videos I want them to work on so they can do it way out in the country. So those are things that need to be looked at. You're right.
I guess the last thing is we have all of the tools as a society to make this happen. As we have all this Skype, we're doing a Skype right now. You could get 10 I don't know how many people you can get in a group, but they have all different kind of apps.
Yeah, we have
And
lots of options. We do.
this is dummy proof because I figured it out. I mean, that's, you know, that's proven. So I'll probably close with we both agree, and the community, the education community, that we need to hit this goal of ending the school year without another day of school.
Yeah. I mean, not ending it now,
No. But
not going to the
not
summer.
running
No.
it through, not running it through
No.
July or
No, of
August or
course not.
September.
Of course not. Can't imagine. Are there people saying that needs to happen? I
Well,
haven't heard.
what I was reading in Oregon, and I could be wrong, is they have to finish the school year, but everybody's not set up online. So how do they do it?
Oh, well, but there's no guarantee we're going to be back in the building in June or July. We don't know. You know, maybe we wouldn't be able to. And then what happens with the virus, like in what's happening in China? Yeah, it goes down, but they could have a new outbreak. This could
Well,
happen.
see, the president said it's an invisible enemy, and I believe it. I do believe we are at war with this virus. Out here, we don't even have testing. I imagine you guys don't either. Do you know anywhere that you could go to get a test?
I know two people in Illinois that did get tested. I know a friend of mine, his grown son who lives in Missouri, he came down violently ill. Oh my God, the worst case scenario. They took him to the hospital. He had another strain of flu. It wasn't corona, but the test took 4 days. They haven't worked on this parking lot test where you can know in 4 hours. So he had to go back home with his family, his little kids, and had to be put in a room by himself. Nobody can go in the room, even though they're 90% sure that it's not the corona, because he had a stomach flu type symptom. So yeah, here I don't think the 4-hour test that President Bush alluded to over a week ago, that they've been doing, you know, in South Korea with the parking lots, they set up the clinics, drive-through clinics and stuff. But it's coming. It is coming.
Yeah,
We're not Italy. I'm glad Italy's there. I feel terrible for them, but they did everything that a lot of people were saying we should do. Just it's okay. It's not that big a deal. Well, they're getting whammied pretty badly. So, and I talked to my friend in France today. They have a lockdown with a ticket. If you get caught driving around, you can get up to like an $80-$90 ticket the first time. And restaurants, depends. In Georgia, restaurants are still open. Are restaurants open in Oregon?
No. For delivery and takeout right now.
You can still go to a bar and drink in Georgia.
Isn't that beautiful? I tell you what, I'm all for a shutdown. I'm all for everybody going home. It's gonna have disastrous effects on the economy. We get it, but we are fighting something that we don't know enough information about. And the more people out there that continue to banter on and on and on, like they know anything. Like I sell roofs. How am I going to now be the leader for the Center of Disease Control?
Right.
So,
well, it's a worldwide phenomenon, so we have to let our guard down and know that we don't know more than everybody else all the time. We have to learn from what other countries are doing. And
yeah, man, this is a changer. This changes everything. Coach, we're right there. I think I'm going to go ahead and stop this, but stay with me real quick.
Okay.